الله أكبر الله.
What do you do next? Do you like walk around with a business card or CV? You got this bio CVs I hear about, and what do you do? You make a profile somewhere online?
Some brothers do that. They carry around CVs and they're ready to just and see a sister, a brother. He may be married, he has a wife, she has a group of sisters, and then she passes it on to them. They laugh at your CV in the group chat. Who's this guy? It's so short. Um, uh,
Assalamu alaikum, brothers. Um, Jazakallah, coming to another week of the cave. This week's format is a little bit different, as you can tell. We thought we'd mix it up a bit, change it with the times. We'll try a little podcast, but at the same times, we'll keep it open for the audience as well. This week's topic is called Rizzing Up the Wife. I'll be honest, I'm not sure what it meant when I first saw it as well. But before we go into that, we've got Brother Nazmul here. He'll be our guest today on the topic. He'll be sharing his experience, somebody who recently got married as well. I'll let the brother introduce himself first, and then we can start there, inshallah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. So I got married last year. It's been over 1 year. And I just wanted to talk about my experience looking for marriage and inshallah give some advice to brothers that are looking for marriage, especially in our modern day.
Okay. So let's start with the topic. What does rizzing up mean? I mean, there's a lot of elderlies in the audience. They won't know what it means.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it meant as well. So what does rizzing up the wife mean?
So the young ones these days, they say rizz to mean how to attract a woman, how to get a woman to like you. So when you're searching for a wife, basically you need to rizz her up.
Okay, so it's basically how to find somebody, is it? Or...
Yeah.
All right. Interesting. Okay. So
I don't know where the word came from. So.
Okay. Normally, when you go to weddings, I've been married 10 years now. I always get the we always get the youth asking Uncle Sahel or Brother Sahel, what do you do when you want to get married? What should you look at? And then before I could answer, there's like 10 uncles ready to answer the question.
Yeah.
Everyone's an expert on trying to get married. So where do you start? For a person who's looking to get married, where do you start? And I know it's a loaded question, so please take your time.
So where do you start? So some of this advice would be tailored specifically for brothers. Sometimes it's generic for sisters as well. But I'd say you start with your mindset. And your mindset will help you navigate looking for marriage and inshallah maybe beyond that as well once you get married. Because marriage is like you're on a journey, on a ship. And there'll be days where the weather's back to the storm, and you have to weather the storm, and be rocking from side to side, and you'll be going back and forth. And other times the sea will be calm and smooth sailing, but at the end of you're heading in one direction. So addressing your mindset is important, and there's 4 areas I like to touch on when it comes to mindset. The first one is marriage is a lifelong decision, and it is the biggest decision you'll make in your life.
Right there.
Because you have to think about it, you live with this person 24/7, and inshallah for the rest of your life, or however long Allah decrees. So depending on how that person is, or how you are towards that person, either bring out the best in you or the worst in you. So let's say, and we know from Islamic paradigm that there could be ramifications in the akhirah as well for you, depending on how you treat your wife. So we need to bear that in mind, that it's not a small, light decision to make. You should take your time doing your research on if you met a sister. You shouldn't rush into marriage.
Okay.
Because this person could be your key to Jannah or Jahannam. And even before you get to there, they may give you hell in the dunya, or they may give you peace. So that's the first. And it's like, if I can give an analogy, buying a house. When people buy a house, especially let's say they have to get a mortgage. In our day and age, you have to get a mortgage. Living in London, just to buy a one-bed flat, you're going to be taking out that mortgage for 25 years, so you're going to be paying off maybe for the rest of your life. So when you go looking for that house, you're going to be looking at every detail. How big is the house? Does it fit my needs? Are there any major problems, structural problems? Are there minor issues that I can look over? Or maybe it has one bed but it has no front garden or no parking. Okay, I can give that up. In the same way, and buying a house is probably going to be the biggest financial decision someone will make. So marriage, you make a comparison, is biggest decision.
I guess it's like a decision that affects you in this life and the afterlife.
Yeah.
So it's probably a decision that affects your the eternal life as well, basically, doesn't it?
Yeah. So you should be thorough with who you choose to marry. And the second point, so I said there's 4 points. The second point is understanding what is the purpose of marriage within an Islamic paradigm. So Allah SWT says in Surah Rum, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُمْ مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. So from our signs we created from you, from wives, that you may dwell in peace. So when you read some of the tafsir, like Ibn Kathir and Mawdudi, they say that in Islam the purpose of marriage is companionship as at the base. Because Allah SWT created us with a fitra, nature, that we like the opposite gender. And in the same ayah I just quoted, the next part, it says, وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً, and He creates between you love and mercy. So that's the part where the fitra, Allah is saying that it's instilled in us to seek out the opposite gender. And marriage is institution in Islam to seek out that relationship. So having a companionship with your wife, and the companionship traverses many aspects. It's not just when it comes to having a, let's say, intimate relationship. It filters in other aspects, just spending time together. So having that mindset that marriage is for companionship. And also on top of that, another aspect to look at is in Surah Baqarah, when Allah says in verse 187, He says, هُنَّ لِبَاسٌ لَكُمْ, that they, the women, the wives, are clothing for you, وَأَنْتُمْ لِبَاسٌ لَهُنَّ, and you are clothing for them. So when it uses the analogy of clothing, when you look at clothes, they cover your body, they can help you against the weather. So against the weather outside, for example, if it's cold outside, you wear a jacket. If it's hot, you wear less clothes to help regulate the heat. And clothes can make you look good as well, presentable. In the same way, a wife or a husband they may help you, they may adorn you in the sense of make you look better, as in striving for the khair, the goodness of Islam in the dunya and in the akhirah, and they may cover you as in your shortcomings that you have, and help you to protect you against the fahisha, the evil that we see in society today, maybe lowering your gaze, from free mixing, from haram relationships. So having a wife or husband helps protect. So the analogy of clothing is appropriate here to use.
Actually makes sense. I think many people might not understand the potency of that answer.
Yeah.
Because a lot today when we see in society, Muslims or non-Muslims,
Yeah.
the relationships are not built on what you were saying, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala displayed it. It's built on how attractive the person is, how good looking they're going to make me, or how much money or
Yeah.
all sorts of nonsense basically. But Allah's, as you're saying, laying it out the real reasons why companionship exists.
And if you come back to the clothing example, when we buy clothes, it may not always be the perfect fit. Might be too big, might be too small, too long or short. Women are that sometimes brothers or sisters criteria is so perfect, so long, looking for the perfect match. But clothes never perfectly fit you. So your spouse may never perfectly fit you, but at the end of the day, still fulfill the things I mentioned before. So that's so important. And in Western society, there's always mentioning about understanding purpose. For them, marriage or any relationship is about how does it benefit the individual. Where in Islam, marriage is about community, it's about forming a new family unit, having kids. Prophet said that to have many kids, to paraphrase the hadith, because I'll be proud of them on Yawm al-Qiyamah. So Islam is more family centric rather than we see today. It's about individual. What can this person provide for me in a relationship? If I'm not benefiting from this relationship emotionally, physically, I'll leave. But Islam doesn't see it like that.
Yeah. Okay, so that's your second point.
Yeah. So that was the second point. The third point as well is understanding women's needs, and that's a big one because again, Allah created women with a certain fitrah, and they're different from men.
I think that's an important point because many people, when they get married, they don't really think. They just think, "Oh, I need to get married." They don't really realize they got to know what women are to us.
Yeah.
Especially from an Islamic perspective, from a creation perspective, isn't it?
Yeah. So understanding the emotional needs, because they have emotional needs and psychological needs, they have to be loved in a certain way. They talk about love language. Women have love language. They want to receive love in a specific way. And this is a big one, is physical needs. Women have physical needs. I'm talking about specifically intimacy. We don't have any kids here, so intimacy is a big thing. And I've seen Muslim counselors, they say that when brothers and sisters come from marriage problems, it always stems from intimacy. One is failing the other, and that leads to problems later on in the marriage or straight after. And I know it's kind of taboo to talk about it, or was it high or was it shame brother talking about intimacy, but it's a big, you need to understand how to please your partner. And the fourth point is you as a husband understanding your role as responsibility.
Yeah.
So Allah says in Surah Nisa, الرجال قوامون على النساء. So the men are providers, the protectors and sustainers over the women. So the wives, they need to be able to financially provide for them and physically protect them if need be. So in our day-to-day being, let's say if you live separately, being able to maintain your wife, giving her money to buy whatever her basic needs, whether it's a house, clothes, certain products she needs, etc. Being able to provide for your wife. Because I'll be honest, I don't believe that. You see a lot today, some people have this mindset 50-50. Oh, I'll pay half. When we get a house, she has to pay for half, I pay for half. I don't believe in that. The man has a responsibility in Islam to provide basic necessities, and beyond that, he is the leader. So Prophet ﷺ said, "Kullukum ra'in." So all of you, referring to men, are shepherds. Or kullukum mas'ulun an ra'iyatihi. You are responsible over your flock. So women need to be led in a relationship. You need to lead the woman, whether it's physically or making decisions in life, and also when it comes to spiritual, you need to lead her. Setting the example when it comes to, let's say, if you pray tahajjud or if you're memorizing a surah, you need to be the one leading a relationship, making the big decisions. Because women look for that. Leadership is what it gives them security. Having a man that knows what he wants is a big thing for them.
Yeah, I guess it's in anything you need one direction.
Yeah.
You can't have a boat going in two different separate ways, doing it in two different ways. And what's more important than the family structure, raising kids, and more importantly, your journey to Jannah? You can't have two different ways, two different directions.
Yeah.
So that was your fourth point, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, I guess in a way, what you've done is set the mindset, like you were saying,
Yeah.
how Muslims view marriage under the Islamic lens, rather than how you see it in society, the degraded way as we see clearly in our eyes in society. So, what do you do next? Do you like walk around with a business card or a CV? You got this bio CVs I hear about, and what do? You make a profile somewhere online?
Some brothers do that. They carry around CVs and they're ready to just and see a sister. Bex is more the practical part, searching for a wife. And the first question is, have you saved up enough to pay for a wedding, for mahar, because it's quite expensive. Even if you do a small venue, you still have to have the money to pay for all of that. On top of, if you're going to live separately as well, paying for rent and having enough beyond the rent as well to pay for bills, etc.
Basically, having the basic necessities of being a man, really, you're saying.
Having the money. Are you earning enough to continue sustaining a woman long term? Not I've saved up £2,000 and that's it.
Just enough.
That's it, just the bare minimum, and then somehow Allah will just come down from the sky. They need to have a job, be earning enough, and the next part is now physically looking for, like searching for a sister. And in the day and age, there's different ways. So one way is about word of mouth. You make a CV. A brother he may be married, he has a wife, she has a group of sisters, and then she passes it on to them. They laugh at your CV in the group chat. Who's this guy? It's so short. They might mock your CV, but the word gets around that you're looking for marriage, or brother might come to you. He may know someone, and find out actually how I found my wife. A brother came to me and asked, he knows someone, but maybe we can get details later on. So word of mouth is one way, asking around and just through the community. And in some places, the masjid offers a service where you can look for potential sisters as well. They facilitate. You have, let's say, for example, I've seen marriage events where they have it's like the marriage version of speed dating. Okay. Just a group of sisters and brothers, and then they just a big circle, and then they just keep moving. I
just realized it's come a long way from, because when I was young, we used to be like, oh, it was the debate between arranged marriage, love marriage. But now they've somehow figured out a middle path with all of these different mechanisms and apps and internet. So yeah, it's changed quite a bit since when I was young.
Another one which also is WhatsApp groups. There's WhatsApp groups for marriage where, again, people are posting that you have mothers, fathers that are posting their CVs of their children in the group, and then through that people may find someone. And another one, which is a big one, which whether it's positive or negative, etc., it's out there, and you have these apps for marriage or for dating that are for Muslims. People are on there seeking out marriage as well, and that in itself is a separate discussion. You can go into that detail about these apps, but people are using it. You have brothers and sisters on there using it as a means to seek marriage. So those are just like some of the ways you can seek marriage. But I say, regardless of which method you choose to seek marriage, the one I would promote is one which involves both families. Because for the sister, having her wali acts as a barrier from any let's say they meet up in public or they meet up in her house or whatnot, the wali or the family acts as a barrier to stop anything haram from inappropriate, and also from the potential brother wasting her time.
Okay.
Because one feedback you get from sisters a lot on specific to these marriage apps, that a lot of brothers waste their time. But if the wali was physically present or somehow involved with the family, that's less likely to happen. And also, women that have never been, sisters never been being in a relationship, they are naive to men's charm. So they can easily be sweet talked and misled, and the guy's just wasting your time. Whereas if the father's there, he can see through the man's words and help protect her and stop her from wasting her time. And likewise, it's the same for the brother. Having their family involved helps to prevent his time from being wasted. Because a lot of sisters are scared to commit to marriage because we do have high divorce rates, and seeing that puts sisters off from getting married.
Yeah.
So when they meet someone, they might be pushed to go to a meeting by their family to meet, oh, we have a potential, and she's just wasting their time. She's not really serious about getting married to him. Or she wants to speak for 5 years before they get married.
Just to be clear, though, I mean, you're not like to paint it in a very crude way. You're not saying the sister should walk around with her while you're with her.
Yeah, no.
Well, when they're looking, I guess the best example is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It wasn't like a one set mechanism of finding someone.
Yeah.
He was working. He met Khadija radiallahu anha, and that's how they got introduced to each other. So you might be in your workplace and you might bump into someone,
Yeah.
or it could be through your neighbors or your locality, or through, so the meeting and whatnot, it can happen anyhow,
Yeah.
anyway, for the qadr of Allah. But if you want to take it more seriously, if you want to take the first step, you're saying the best mechanism, the protective mechanism as well, the blessings as well, is to get the walis involved.
Yeah, and like you said, having it either in the public meeting, public spaces to talk about marriage, to gauge each other's compatibility, and or if it's in the home, in the house, it's fine. Like I said, it may happen naturally, organically in your workplace. I've seen brothers marry sister they saw the workplace, or their neighbor, someone down the road. They just know them through their family, and they got married to them.
Okay. So you've got the mindset sorted. You've got how you can meet and the best way to go about it, i.e., having the protective, the wali, the barrier there. What do you do after that? You found the sister. Do you go down on your knees and propose, or what's next?
The next part is the most important part. I'd say is vetting the sister, asking the right questions, and in the right manner. The real magician is being able to ask a question in the correct manner and getting the information without being direct or being rude. Like, for example, don't ask closed questions. Are you practicing? Do you pray 5 times a day? Do you ask questions which are open towards the sister, because then she has to explain her ideas to you. So what do you think your purpose in life is? What kind of goals do you have in life? What do you think about kids? Now that she has to explain herself. And through asking these questions, you can gauge compatibility. And I'll say compatibility is the most important thing to gauge, because the goal is, inshallah, to have a long-term marriage. So suiting someone who's compatible in that long term is going to, inshallah, help you achieve that goal. And I'd say compatibility is based on 3 things. Before I mention it, there's a hadith from somewhere a man came to Prophet and said, I married a woman from Ansar. And he said, have you seen her? And he said, no. And they go see her, so you may incline towards her, and so you can gauge compatibility. So they had this idea of compatibility as well in their time. And when it comes to compatibility, there's three things you should really look out for. One is mutual attraction, even more so for men. So men are physically attracted to women, and that's going to help them towards making a decision. When a man sees a woman, any woman, they say that within the first couple of seconds he's already made up his mind about whether she's attractive or not, because they make their judgments based on appearance first. Women, they're not so much inclined towards appearance and attraction, but it can be a factor. I've heard stories that sisters got married to a brother they weren't attracted to, and then later on down the line they get divorced because there's no attraction. But it's not always physical attraction for them. Sometimes it could be the way you present yourself, the way you come across, the way you speak. It could be that you're very ambitious. They like the fact that you've got big goals in life. You're very disciplined. They may like something about your character which makes them physically attracted to you. So the first is mutual attraction. And the second is personality. What kind of qualities you're looking for in a wife. And sometimes you want to look for qualities which aren't similar to yours. Take for example, if you're someone that has a short temper and then marrying a sister that's quite fiery, when you have a heated argument, it's just going to escalate. Whereas if you had a sister more softer, more understanding, then it's more likely to de-escalate. And these kind of conflicts over time, when you repeatedly butting heads with each other, arguments, heated discussions, etc., or bad habits which you can't stand, these little things over time, they add up and they lead to conflict, and they could lead to divorce. So personality is one thing we should get. The second thing we should gauge in a sister, how she is. And the third, which I'd say is the biggest, is what kind of ideas does she have about life? How does she understand marriage? Her role as a wife, your role, my role as a husband. Is our lifestyle the same? Because these sorts of ideas will leak into the marriage. Take for example, and this has happened where a brother, he's practicing and he sees a sister he really likes, but let's say she's not practicing, she's not hijabi, she doesn't pray, but he still marries her. Now, he's living a completely different lifestyle. She may be going out, free mixing, and he's living where he's avoiding that. That leads to conflict. He goes up to, what are you doing? Why are you going out meeting these boys for? It's haram. So now their different lifestyle have led to a conflict in the marriage. They're living two separate lives, and eventually leads to divorce. So I'll give you an example. One brother, he got married to a sister, and I think about 10 years down the line, they had 2 kids. She wanted to separate. And what was the reason? Because she wasn't enjoying marriage. So when he was looking to marry her, did he ask these questions? What do you think marriage is about? This brother was more inclined towards practicing. So he had a different understanding. They get married. She realizes actually marriage is more, it's not as fun as we see in movies or how some Western society portrayed to be. She bounces, she leaves. It's not fun, it's difficult, it takes a lot of work, looking after the house. And the brother was a good brother, he was providing the basic needs for the house, going to work, looking after, helping the kids. He was doing his part. But because there's a fundamental difference in what the purpose of marriage is, one example, it led to a conflict in marriage, a divorce.
So just to be clear, you're not saying, oh, women bad.
No.
We're talking about...
It could happen another way.
Yeah.
So
it could be vice versa, but it's about the basis on how you see marriage, responsibility.
And beyond that, about overall, what is your life about? How do you live your life? What do you want to get out of life? It's kind of big questions about life. And it can apply to sisters as well when they're asking brothers as well. it's quite important to gauge these things.
Okay, now I think we've got a bit of a picture in what you're trying to say now. You have to be on the same journey, is basically what you're
Yeah.
saying. If one wants to worship Allah, one wants to enjoy life and party, and then there's going to be clashes. You're not going to be able to maintain a family life in one direction. You'll be fighting each other, forcing yourself apart. You know what? I think we've asked enough questions. Let's open it up to the audience. See if we can get any more questions and any more things out. Unless you want to add.
Yeah, no, because there's other areas we could touch on, but for me, I don't. It could go on for hours talking about this, and for me, these are the main points that I wanted to cover.
Okay.
So one is the mindset, second is more practical means, and thirdly is vetting a sister for marriage.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? When you say vetting, it kind of, I tell you what it brings to mind is, I mean, I don't need to go in. I always bring it up every week, and I don't think I'll ever stop anyway. But when you see what's going on in Gaza, you see the way the Ummah are living there, you can tell when they want to get married, they don't. They might not even have a big wedding, a big hall, a big food celebration. I remember seeing this brother. He said he was just helping the brother load the bodies and or unpack it, take him to the hospital, and because they're very low on staff there, so even the public just help out. And he goes, by chance, he saw the sister he was engaged to. He wasn't even expecting to see her there. They were expected to be married soon. He was saddened, obviously, but he felt happy because even though she was dead, he saw a smile on her face. And he thought straight away, she's in a better place than I am. So everybody there, they all have the same mindset about life, about your life is about worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even their marriage, everything is centered around that. Whereas when we live in the West, we've got all these different weird ideas. You have to ask questions. You have to get this out. What is your aim in life? And that's what your basis in marriage should be about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, inshallah, let's open it up to the floor. If whoever wants to ask any questions, any comments as well, if you want to add something that we might have missed.